All right. And on that note, we are right at the top of the hour. Let's go ahead and get started with our Platform Academy today. We are thrilled to kick off the session. My name is Sharon Barnes, Platform Outbound Product Manager and today's host. And we have an incredible session lined up today with Maria Gabriela, Ochoa's Perez Waechter. And I can't wait for us to dive in. But before we get started, just a couple quick logistics. These presentations are crafted with you in mind, and our goal is to inspire you with the fresh ideas and practical use cases that elevate your understanding of platform tools and the solutions you create. Plus, don't worry if you miss something, the session is being recorded and will be available on the community through our Platform Academy forum. Feel free to fire away with questions throughout the presentations. Just please do remember, post them in the Q&A session. Makes it easier for our amazing panelists to make sure they address them all. And also, we want to make sure your voices are heard. At the end of the event, there's going to be a quick survey that helps us improve our content for everyone. And with that said, also want to make sure that we do a quick reminder to practice Safe Harbor. We might share some new and exciting features today, so let's keep everything compliant with those best practices. Now, let's get to the good stuff. I am thrilled to present our fantastic speaker, Maria Gabriela, who will take us on a journey through controller building in UI Builder. So without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to Maria Gabriela. Take it away.
Hello, everybody. My name is Maria Gabriela Ochoa Perez Waechter. I'm an outbound product manager on the Agent Experiences team. I work with UI and UI related products, most importantly, UI Builder. Sharon, can we get a poll running to see what people's familiarity with UI Builder is? Let's see if they know it a little bit, if they've touched it in the past, if they're a UI Builder Pro, and we'll come back to that right before we do our demo. Today's agenda, we are going to first talk about the framework, then we're going to talk about awesome ways to make our framework more extensible and easier to use, and we're going to end with controller building. Now, a lot of the times we get the question, why a new framework? And the reason why is because we wanted to find a way to standardize across all of our experiences and make ServiceNow feel good to use, not just be an awesome platform on its own. We wanted a more modern look and a better way of working. And so we came up with the Next Experience UI framework. It is made up of standard JavaScript web components. It's modern and React-like, but it's not React. Don't do what I did and try to learn React. It'll help you, but it won't be exact. And it provides standardization across different experiences. Now, what is UI Builder? UI Builder is the web user interface that provides. Wait a minute, y'all. Have you not been seeing my screen this whole time? Is it
I
working?
see your screen.
Okay, that's weird because on my side it says share. Okay, cool. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for the check. That would have been so funny if I had just been talking here. Awesome. So, UI Builder is the builder that helps us build. I wonder how many times I can say build in a sentence. UI Builder helps us build web pages and experiences within ServiceNow. We have a lot of different things that you can build inside of it now. You can make experiences, page collections, controllers, presets, and we have something new coming up that I will be telling you guys about on Thursday. So if you aren't already planning to come back on Thursday's Academy, it is going to be at noon Eastern, not at 1 p.m. Eastern. We're going to talk about what's new, and there may be a hint in this screenshot. What's new in Zurich? Now, the first thing that I want to talk about is one of the biggest challenges that we've heard from our customers when working with UI Builder is reusability and being able to collaborate on the same page at the same time. We've first started tackling this problem by creating something called page collections. Page collections are globally available subpages, kind of like extension points, and they help basically create a sub-page experience that you can share across multiple different experiences and not need to do a lot of rework in order to get the same experience look and feel across multiple locations. The way that page collections communicate with the parent page is via controllers. And before, we only really had a few controllers. We had like the form controller and we had the form controller basically. But now we're able to create presets and controllers inside of UI Builder to help make better experiences. So controller building is basically the easiest way I can think of it is imagine you're building the brains of the operation. Controllers can seem really, really complex at first, but all you have to remember is that you should configure the business logic of your application here, and that can be reused in many different places. And I'll show you an example of that with our lab from Knowledge this year, where we built a Magic the Gathering tournament organizing software. If anybody here likes Magic, I couldn't get any of the cards into the system, but the spirit of it is still there. Now, other important things about controller building is that it really helps you be able to collaborate because you could have your, let's say, your lead dev working in the controller, configuring the business logic, while at the same time, one of your UI devs is working on the page itself, and they don't have to worry about overriding each other's configurations because that's a real problem that we've got going on right now with UI Builder as we try to find better ways to collaborate. There are some hiccups here and there. You're also able to quickly configure the components with presets. And the best part is if you have the same logic being used across multiple pages right now, you basically have to go back in and update each individual one. But now with controller building, there's only one place that you need to update it, and you won't have to worry about going to multiple different pages. And controllers basically work where they have a set of input properties. Then the controller does a whole bunch of craziness. And then the output properties are what your pages receive from the controller itself. You can also dispatch events from a controller, and those can be mapped inside of the page's controller event mappings. Now, I anticipate we're going to get a lot of questions about all this stuff. I have a bunch of resources at the end of this, right after our demo. But if you want, just start throwing questions in the Q&A, and I'll be happy to answer them as we go along. We got the first question: where can we find documentation on UI Builder web components? Can we build web components using external libraries like Shoelace or Lit? So yes, that is what Seismic is. And what you're looking for specifically is called custom component building in the CLI. And the custom component building in the CLI requires you to basically have VS Code installed and work on it from there. If you want a really good introduction to the web component kind of architecture, infrastructure, and oh, sorry, I got a question that I got distracted by. So the best resource for you to learn the basics about the web component infrastructure, the architecture, and kind of the thinking behind UI Builder is Chris Johnson's UI Builder 101 video. I strongly recommend it, not only because it's incredibly informative, but it's also hilarious. He brings his chickens in, and it's amazing. There's also an article version about this. If you prefer to read an article instead of watching an hour-long video, that's also perfectly fine. Now, we also have another question for a most common basic use case for controller as an example. Yeah, it kind of is like a flow action where you can define input and have logic to define the output. The best way that I can think to explain it is to just think of this as the brains of the operation. Think of controller building as imagine it's like the server script of your service portal widget. Imagine it's like a place for you to encapsulate all of it, and it can be really used for literally anything you could imagine. Like you can have all of the logic for your page just be in the controller and only have the page be presentational and UI driven. I'm actually going to show you guys here an example of what that looks like as we talk about the tournament operations workspace. But let me check real quick to see if there's anything that we need to cover on this slide. Nope. I think we've already covered this. So let's go ahead and start the demo, which as always, begins with me making sure that I am logged into my instances because they love to disconnect us.
You're logging in. Shall I launch that poll?
Yes, please. Let's go ahead and launch the poll. So let me know what your current experience is with UI Builder. Have you ever used it? Have you used a little? You know what it exists and you're not sure what it is. Let's give that a moment while I log in here. And I'm going to also pull up.
I am actually going to apologize. I did miss putting in the extra option of I used it a lot. I intended that first option to say that. My apologies.
I guess you guys just got to tell us in the chat. Represent who uses it a lot. If you have any feedback, let me know send me feedback in the Q&A and I'll make sure our inbounds get it about your usage of UI Builder. That would be awesome as well. So let's go ahead and give it one more minute and I am ready to go. So let's look. Oh, actually, I don't think I can look at the results. So Sharon, oh, there they are. Awesome. So, okay. Okay, good to know. This is a good spread. Honestly, I am very happy to see that 39% of us have used it a little bit. That's good to know. I do want to share that there's a bunch of usability and new updates to it. If you want to check that out, we're going to have a What's New in Zurich session happening sometime mid-September to go over exactly everything that's been newly added. But if you check out our previous academies where I talked about what's new in Yokohama, there's a lot of usability enhancements that make UI Builder so much easier to use. Because I remember, like, man, I can't believe it's been 3 years that I've been working here. But like before I worked here, I used to look at Brad Tilton using it all the time, and I would just feel so lost. I would look at it and it would feel like it was French because he was pulling out all these things from his head, like context dot user dot session dot display value, and he was just able to dot walk all these things, whereas nowadays you're actually able to do so much more in a much easier way through data binding and doing different things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and start by showing you guys what the application looks like. So this is the tournament admin workspace. We can add a new tournament. So this is a new page. It'll load. There we go. So we're going to call this Please Work. We're live. And I'm going to hit save. And this is basically the controllers lab that we ran at Knowledge this year. Basically walks you through step-by-step directions of how to build this controller and how to connect it to the page that we're going to be working from. So once we have our tournament created, we can see that this is another page. So now we're across 3 pages and we can register new participants. I'm going to go ahead and add Abel, and I'm going to go ahead and add Chuck, if I could spell it right. I'm going to hit save, and now we can see our players. We can also see, for example, in an active tournament, it's keeping track of our matches and it's keeping track of who wins each match. And as the tournament goes on, it creates the next rounds. Now, ignore this. We had a data binding mishap that we never got around to fixing. But ideally, this lab should be available sometime soon on ServiceNow University /Now Learning, so you can also run through it yourself. But let's take a look at what it looks like behind the scenes. So this is a tournament admin workspace. I'm going to go over to the home page. And if you're kind of familiar with UI Builder, you're going to notice something kind of different is that we only have, oh, wait a minute. This one isn't even, here we go. Let's go to the record page, which this is our custom record page. It's not the standard record page. This is what shows. Oh, we got a question in the chat. I will go back to that question here shortly, or rather in the Q&A. So here we go. We have the controller. And we have all of our stuff. But as you can tell, we don't have any other client scripts or data resources. We only have this one tournament controller. And the tournament controller has one input. And through that input, it gives us all this information about the tournament that we can then use on this page. So compare this data and scripts section to, I know, right? I should have never told it I was live because now it knows to mess up. So compare this and this. There is so much more on the standard record page for service operations workspace. All of this is at the page level, whereas all of our logic is at the controller level. So that means if I'm an SOW developer and I'm working on here and another developer is also working on SOW at the same time, we kind of have to watch out for each other no matter what we're doing to make sure we don't save over changes over each other. But because the controller is a separate record from the page, I'm able to work on the controller while someone else is working on the page itself. This is one of the different ways that we've identified to make it a lot better for collaboration to happen in UI Builder. And I want to show you guys what the controller itself looks like, because right now we're looking at the outputs. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to my home page and I am going to look at my recently opened, or I can go to the controllers menu up here and I am going to click on controller. And it looks just like UI Builder, except the center has been replaced by a pill view of what our controller outputs are. So here we can see, or rather, here's the available data, and then this is our outputs. And we can see that both in JSON or in just pill view. So here's where you see all the data resources, all the client scripts, everything that handles the brains and operations of our workspace. It's going to be here. We got a question. How do I find the knowledge lab in Now Learning? That's a great question. I will show you guys that here at the end. But basically what I would do is I would look up controllers and see if it's been added yet. The title of the presentation was controller building in ServiceNow. So it should be pretty self-apparent once you find it. Now we don't have controllers in it, but we also just recently released a brand new UI Builder advanced course where we talk all about GraphQL data resources and a whole bunch of really advanced UI Builder operations. So if you want to get your learning on, that's something I would recommend you hit up first, and then try to see if the component labs is posted. I'll have an update for that here on Thursday on our next Academy session, where you can come in and it's basically going to be an Ask the Experts. You can come in and ask me all the UI Builder and UI related questions you might have. And I'll be talking about some cool features in UI Builder that I strongly recommend you try out, even if they're older features. But yeah, this is basically component builder, rather. This is basically controller builder. You're able to add in any data resources. You're able to create properties, which then are displayed in your page as you're able to, let me go to the workspace again. You're able to create the properties, which will show up here under the tournament admin experience. We're going to go to the tourney record, and the properties show up as though they were a data resource property right here. You can bind this. Right now we have it bound to the page property sysid. So that way it knows what controller, or rather what tournament we're working on. And then it takes this information back over to the controller, and it uses all of that information from the properties here to get us all this information, like what are the participants, what are the match records, what are the match results, things like that. So here we can see the data that our controller has access to. And then we have the output values according to what's going on with it. Here you can have the client scripts. You can make it all be as complex as you want, and it'll all be encapsulated here. And the way that you add this controller to a page is you literally going to go to the home page, because I know that one doesn't have the controller. And I am going to click on add data resource. See, I told it we were live and now it wants to be funny. And here's the tournament admin controller, and we can add it, and now it's here. So now the page is hooked up to our controller, and now we can manage this information and this data all directly from inside the controller. So that's it for the demo. I'm going to go ahead and now share you guys some resources that we have so you can get your UI Builder learning going as well. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A. And if not, you have until Thursday, basically, to come up with as many questions as you want. And you can ask us this in our Ask the Expert session on the 31st. And again, it's not going to be at noon like today, at 1 p.m. Eastern like today's session. It's going to be at noon Eastern. But here's some training resources that I want to make sure that you guys have access to. The number one is our Next Experience community blogs. Here you can see step-by-step directions on how to do a lot of the most popular questions that we get from UI Builder, like how do I navigate component configuration? And here's an example on how you have a simple counter application. And we are constantly releasing more and more articles for this. So if you have any recommendations, please submit them through the survey that we have on these articles. There's the UI Builder 101. There's also the training resources on learning, which thank you so much to Dexter for linking on there. We have the UI Builder Fundamentals course, which is about 6 hours of an on-demand course that goes through all the basics you need to know. And then we have the UI Builder Advanced course, which was the same lab that we ran at Knowledge this year. So if you didn't get to go or the session was full, you can still take advantage of that. And the fun thing is that we make an animal shelter application. And part of the lab is to grab dog pictures from the dog picture API. So you can spend some time just refreshing the page and looking at cool dog pictures after you're done setting up your GraphQL data resource. Like Dexter said in the chat, we've also got the training workshops, which has our knowledge labs from 2024. Another great intro to workspaces lab, an advanced workspace lab. And we have the Build a Killer single page app with UI Builder lab on there as well, where you can make a note-taking application as part of the lab exercises. Again, like always, we have the Next Experience Center of Excellence in the community. And if you're in particularly looking for some service operations workspace resources, here they are. Take a quick screenshot. I would like to highlight the SOW events link. They have a bunch of events this year, and that is a short link to their community post that lists them all out. If you have any videos that you want to check out, I strongly recommend the UNI Builder Live playlist. This is a show that that's currently on hiatus, but it's a much deeper dive on what is UI Builder development. We keep it super real. Our tagline is sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And we like to have fun on there. It's kind of like the old school live coding happy hour, if you remember those. But then you've also got the Next Experience Academy YouTube playlist. If you want to see a history of all of the stuff that I have put out there for a while now, you should check that out, along with the new Platform Academy, or with the Platform Academy YouTube playlist, where this is going to go. Yeah, I also miss live coding happy hour, James. I think that's the one you were talking about. But does anybody have any questions before we continue? Please be sure to drop them in the Q&A so that way we can get these answered also after the show. But if not, I'm going to give you guys some time to throw in questions in the Q&A, and I'm going to throw it over to Sharon to close us out.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us today. You have clearly already found our Platform Academy. I think we're one of the best, but there are other topics for academies. We've got our AI Academy, platform analytics, and process mining. I strongly recommend go ahead, take a glance at the link and sign up for those as well, especially if those are topics that you have an additional interest in, because it gives you that opportunity to hear from the experts on what's new and the in-depth deep dives that they go with on those. Next slide.
I am going to interrupt you for one quick second. So here's the slide with SOW info. I'm going to hover over here for just a quick second so you can take a screenshot. Can we use UI Builder to add custom web components and functionality to agent workspaces? That is a great question. Unfortunately, you're not able to. Our agent workspaces are not as configurable as our configurable workspaces. I will make note, though, that the HR agent workspace is actually a configurable workspace that can be configured in UI Builder. That one's a little bit of a confusing one. In terms of the academies, technically, none of them have been canceled. All of them have just been rolled into the Platform Academy. So we have the old AI Academy, platform analytics, process mining, my next experience academy. We're all going to be standardizing on just these 2 time slots per week to hopefully make it be a lot easier for people to attend. We'll be able to cross-pollinate and make sure everybody gets all the good information at an equal rate. But I'll also still be here. Sharon will be here. All of the old academy runners are also going to still be running them. Glad to hear that, Louise. I will be posting links to the resources here in the chat shortly, but I'll also post them as part of when this gets posted on community, the links are also going to be there as part of the PowerPoint and as part of the comments as well, since you asked it in the Q&A. Now I will give it back to you, Sharon.
All right, thank you so much. Another thing is, as we spoke about last time, where we were talking about our safest harbor and what we do with feedback that comes from our customers and how valuable it is to us, this is another one of those opportunities to give us your feedback. This is going to take you to a very quick form to fill out. Once you've done that, we will reach out to you, set up a meeting for about 60 minutes, and it can either be you specifically or your team if you want to bring a couple other people. And it allows us as the team that's collecting that feedback for how to make our products better to get information directly from the source as what's needed. So we would love for you to participate in our feedback sessions. And then to our next slide, we also have our upcoming series of events. With these future sessions, the next one is going to be Maria Gabriela rejoining us for an Ask the Experts on UI Builder. She hates when I say bring your most difficult questions, but come and bring those real questions that you are looking to solve with UI Builder. She
Man,
is amazing
simple.
research.
Whenever I try to be like, hey, bring me your hardest questions, some people bring out the questions. So I've stopped saying that. But yeah, please come back on Thursday at noon Eastern. We're going to be hanging out and taking all your questions,
And then one
your
week from
reasonable questions.
yes, I have to say I've brought you some tough ones back when I was a developer. Yes. On to our next week, we will be doing localization with Vicky. They've got a new localization workspace that I'm very excited to get a walkthrough of. And then after that, we will be looking at AI-powered mobile experiences and going from there. Once again, I appreciate you joining us for today. Thank you so much, Maria Gabriela, for all of your expertise and skills that you bring with us. And thank you to our amazing attendees. We appreciate you joining us and hope you have a beautiful week.
Thank you for having us, Sharon. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.